Well, friends, we have Scotty Kilmer back on the show today, and his video titled, Tesla just announced no one is buying our cars and we can no longer stay in business. I haven't seen the video yet. Watch it with me. Hang on to your butts.
Well, old Elon's Tesla isn't doing too good. There's many things that are going wrong. Well, one of the big ones is Tesla owners are now trading in their EVs at record levels. And of course, they blame it a bunch on political affiliations, that they don't like the stuff that Trump's doing. Oh, he's right-wing. We're left-wing people with our electric cars, in quotes, saving the planet, right? Well, now they're trading in, and guess what? They're not getting much for them. Edmunds reported the highest ever selling of Teslas and buying other cars from other manufacturers. Well, you know, as they say, the crap is literally hitting the fan. Of course, a lot of the reasons are they cost too much.
Before he goes down this diatribe of anti-EV nonsense, yeah, the political stuff with Tesla is pretty pervasive right now. I know several friends that watch the show and have said exactly what he's kind of dismissing there. This political situation right now with Elon and Trump and all that is absolutely driving people away from the brand. Will more people come to the brand as a result? With any brand change like this, you're going to have a lot of churn in your customer base, and that's really the source of this. Their stock is down tremendously and sales are down as well, so it is grim lately for Tesla, the company. The product is really good. I mean, I still have a Tesla Model Y. Him dismissing this as just a sideshow is not true. It is absolutely related to this politics stuff. And on the other side, we know that because EV sales are still up. You can look at that and go, yeah, people are still choosing EVs in record numbers. They're just not choosing Tesla, and it's pretty obvious why.
Elon Musk, of course, did not start Tesla, right? It was a company he bought. And the guy who originated Tesla had the idea of making sports cars for rich people. His original ones were the fancy English Lotus sports cars, and then they made them into electric cars, right? So it started off on the wrong foot for most people. Most of us aren't buying expensive sports cars, right? You want transportation, and his cars are not transportation cars.
And he's technically not wrong. Tesla was founded by Eberhard and Tarpenning were the guys. Then Elon came in as a very early investor, but undoubtedly, without Elon, Tesla wouldn't be anything like it is today. I mean, it's a pretty thin argument, and I think your perspective of like, did he found Tesla or not, really stems on your perspective on him. You know, so if you don't like him, you're going to try to bring that up and use that as a stone to throw. But honestly, I think it's a pretty weak one. Yeah, he definitely made the company what it is today. So whether or not that makes you founder, I think is sort of marketing at this point.
Even in California, over 25% of the people who bought electric cars got rid of them and said, no, we're not going to get another electric car. We'll get a regular gasoline car. It was too much hassle.
I don't know what he's talking about there. I think he's saying that because I think in 2024 in California, we were over 25% of new sales were electric. I think that's where he's getting that stat from. Otherwise, if he's saying 25% of the people that have bought them switched back to gas cars, that means that 75% of people kept them. Pretty huge supermajority type stats. Not sure where he's going with that one.
That's in California, where there's quite a few chargers. I just got back from there, and there's chargers all over the place, right?
Scotty, next time you're in California, come on. Let's do this face-to-face. I would love to hang out with you.
Here in Tennessee, there aren't chargers all over the place. And when I'm in Rhode Island, there aren't chargers all over the place. So it really doesn't fit Americans, and it's no surprise that people are getting rid of these things.
But before we go on, I have to give a thanks to today's sponsor, Source. This tech still honestly blows my mind a little bit here, but if you're unfamiliar with Source, they make these hydro panels that you set up at your house that produce clean drinking water on site with nothing but sunlight and air. This isn't a filter or something that depends on an outside source. There's no electricity or water to run to it or anything. It's entirely off-grid, and it even works in extremely dry climates like the Sonoran Desert where I grew up. Now, the way these panels work is you set them up on your roof or in your yard, and you run a line into your house, either into a new tap like I had at my old house or directly into existing lines like a fridge with a water dispenser. Now, at my old place, they made quite a bit of noise on the roof when they were running, but since then, they've almost completely eliminated that by first pushing the water into a water tank, either under your sink or in a closet or somewhere else to store the water. And then from there, it goes out to the tap or the faucet that you have set up for it. But again, the cool thing to me is that these are entirely off grid. I mean, it's just as simple as it can be. The sun comes up, it charges them up. It has a built-in solar panel. They run and collect the excess water vapor out of the air to create the drinking water for you. Now, of course, before it gets to the tap or whatever you have set up, they make sure that it's clean and safe by sterilizing stabilizing it and then adding minerals so you don't end up drinking distilled water. Now, at my old house, my family drank basically this water exclusively for almost 3 years before we ended up moving out. And we did the math on it, and we found out that we were actually saving money compared to buying bottled water at Costco versus what we had there locally. And again, it was just made on site. We never had to ship it around or go anywhere to get it. It was just always available, which I love. So if you're interested in securing your family's water supply today and living a more independent and free life, check out the link down in the description below. And stay tuned for more because Source has told me they have a lot of exciting things coming out. So I'll be sharing those on the channel here in the future. Now, thanks Source again for being a long-term channel partner. And let's get back to the video. Scotty, you know better than that. There's electricity everywhere you go, and all you need is a plug. It's a silly argument. In fact, in California, we now have 50% more EV plugs than gas pumps. Undoubtedly, California is the king of EV charging in the US. He mentioned Tennessee. In Nashville, they have almost 1,400 chargers, and a lot of the other big cities in the state have lots of chargers as well. It's one of those things where he's just unfamiliar with it because he's not an EV driver. Same with Rhode Island. There are almost 1,000 chargers. And we need to remember the context here that 80% of people are charging almost exclusively at home. This only needs to cover 20% of the population out there that have EVs. You have electricity, so as long as you have that, it's more about just getting access to it.
Tesla is having almost all of the Cybertrucks recalled by the federal government. Turns out that trim panels can detach and fly off because they're just glued on. Right? And obviously they didn't use very good glue, or they didn't use enough of it. Now, there are some very good glues out there. For instance, for quite some time, Audi has been making frames out of aluminum that are glued together. You may say, what, a frame glued together? They're super strong glues put in presses, and that glue holds. It holds. Now, of course, the problem is if you get in a wreck with one and it breaks the frame, it's pretty much goodbye car.
Yeah, the Cybertrucks have build issues. It's a new model for them. It is made of hubris, as Elon put it with the Model X. I would say it's a fair statement. And so, yeah, there's going to be all kinds of issues with this car for, the foreseeable future, I would say.
It's all one piece, right? Great. It saves them a lot of money when they build them because instead of having like 47 different parts welded together, it's one big press. But guess what happens if you get in a wreck? That one big piece gets parts of it broken, end of car.
I love the laughing horse. I don't know how this became my job. Repairability of Teslas is a challenge. I actually don't find it to be as bad as some other EV makers out there. And that's mostly, I think, thanks to the folks in Massachusetts. They had a right to repair law that forced Tesla to release their service manuals and their guides on how to fix things, as well as sell parts to you and even rent you specialty equipment that you need. But it's still pretty rare to get a Tesla vehicle fixed outside of Tesla themselves, which I think is a real negative experience for a lot of people that have to deal with that. My wife's Model Y, the 12-volt battery went out. My first thought was, yeah, go down to AutoZone or whatever and just get one. But of course not. Tesla has a specific 12-volt battery that you can't buy. So I had to go directly to Tesla, but they did sell it to me on the spot, and I changed it in the parking lot in 5 minutes using their guide. But if I had to, say, drive hours to get to a service center, that could be a real strong inconvenience. I don't know anyone that's never had any kind of frustration or pain there. It is safe to say that repairability is a challenge. He's, of course, overblowing the intention here behind how they build their vehicles.
The aluminum stuff gets all bent up. That's pretty much it. You throw the car away, and especially the newer ones, when they started using the gigapress for the giant frame part, that gets broken, goodbye car.
They're not entirely made out of aluminum. They have different grades of steel in different parts as well. The aluminum is to try to make them lighter. It's how technology progresses. Aluminum is being used not just with Tesla, so he's trying to point it as like they're stupid for doing this. That's definitely not the case. Lots of companies use aluminum for their frames and everything else, so, whatever.
Now, as I say, not a fan of electric cars. I would say wait for the future as they perfect them. And here is another reason. Researchers took Tesla batteries apart and BYD batteries, that's a big Chinese company that makes electric cars, and they found a clear winner. And the winner was BYD because they have their own batteries. It's called the BYD Blade battery. Well, Tesla has their 4680 battery that they've had problems. And this lies at the root of the problem of electric cars. Tesla wanted to make fast supercars, so they got ones that were really energy dense. They cost a ton of money to make, they have a limited lifespan, they can start on fire, but they go fast, right? He went down the wrong road from the beginning. The Chinese, on the other hand, they're making batteries that are less energy dense, they cost less, They recharge faster without problems, and they really don't have a problem starting on fire. Charges up fast.
So BYD, it's no surprise that their battery tech is better, arguably, than Tesla's. The fundamental thing is that BYD was a battery company prior to making electric cars. Wan Gang in China, who convinced the Chinese government to really put all their eggs in this basket of electric vehicles and renewable energy because they knew they couldn't compete with the BMWs and the Mercedes of the world at making internal combustion vehicles. They started and they made a massive bet in the year 2000. Now in 2003, I believe is when Tesla was founded, but really the Roadster didn't come out until 2008. By that time, BYD was way ahead in terms of battery manufacturing. But the thing is, they started out by sourcing the raw materials. By the time they started building them, their battery tech was phenomenal. Tesla does a great job with their batteries, no doubt. But if BYD is better by whatever scientific measure he talked about, the reason I would point to most likely is that they've just been doing it longer with greater scale and greater focus.
Instead of making these super computer controlled, they go super fast. You don't need that crap. We do not need a car that goes 0 to 60 under 2 seconds. A car that can go almost 200 miles an hour. We don't need these cars. We need regular transportation cars.
Look, I'm with him. When people ask me about the Model Y now, should I get the performance or not? Do you mean just straight line performance? Because I think most car enthusiasts, going fast in a straight line is like, way down on the list of importance. It's not even up there. Really, it's all about handling. A regular base Model 3 or Model Y is going to melt your face off how quick it is. I'm with him. Those are cool Halo products, but that shouldn't be the focus. And honestly, I don't think that's Tesla's focus, or it hasn't been their focus for years.
And it might be that the Chinese are the ones that are going to build it. Lower price, something that actually works. And what a lot of people don't understand is the markup of cars is such a game. Tesla marks them up a lot to make a big profit, right? But take a look at Toyota. In the rest of the world, they actually sell pickups that cost like around $10,000. And they're regular pickup trucks, right? The ones over here, pretty much, they start at $35,000 to $40,000. Now, they don't sell the cheap ones here. They are cheaper. They have less things to them. But they can be built, and they can be built at that price. When you look at the cost, the efficiency, and the durability, the real winner is, as these researchers said, BYD.
BYDs are sort of like the Toyota of the world. They're not sexy or fast or whatever, but they're affordable and they work great. That was my argument why pushing back on regulations here in the US to encourage electric vehicle development by local automakers in the US is a real disservice to our economy in the US, because what's going to happen is Latin America, for example, imports almost all of their cars. Australia, Southeast Asia, these countries don't make their own cars, so they import the vast majority of them. They're going to import the most economical ones that function the best. And BYD is one of those that is just crushing it. The whole world is moving this direction. And here we are in the US on this sort of island, we're just losing. That's why we need to encourage development of EVs here in the US, because the rest of the world is going to be completely moved on. And by the time that the tides turn here, we're going to be so far behind that the US auto industry could really, really hurt.
We don't need these super fast cars. As a matter of fact, they're dangerous. They've been proven all the accidents that these Teslas get into. They're too fast. They're just too wild, And it doesn't matter what kind of controls you have. When you're going too fast, you're going to get in a wreck. Where Tesla just took a sports car and he just tried to sell it to everybody for a whole bunch of money.
Yeah, I mean, the whole make a sports car and sell it to everybody, it really was just about the marketing. Roadster comes out just mainly focused on celebrities and it's a status symbol and this and that. But then the Model S comes out. Oh crap, this is like an amazing vehicle. It's a very practical car, right? But it's also fun and, has all the benefits of EVs. Now, that's really what Tesla did. They shifted people's perceptions that EVs can be sexy and fun and cool. And now we have everywhere in the world, companies are going electric. We owe them a lot of credit for that, even if you don't like their brand right now. His idea that that's all they've ever focused on is just clearly not true. The Model 3 and Model Y are very mass market focused. The idea originally wasn't just because they liked fast cars. In order to convince people that electric car was even a possibility, you had to make them sexy and cool.
Well, hardy har har, here we go with electricity again. Massachusetts offshore wind farm is postponed 4 years. And now the company that was going to build them off of Cape Cod, off the coast of Massachusetts, is saying, we're going to delay this for 4 years, or more, of course. P Renewables did it. It's a Portuguese company. They were supposed to build it. And that company said, we're taking an impairment charge, because see, if they said they're going to start building it and they don't build it, then they have to pay the fine that's in the contract. So they're paying the fine rather than building it. That shows you how bad this windmill crap in the ocean is.
Okay, Scotty, you're talking out your ass. You don't know anything about this. wind is an incredibly productive way to generate energy. He's just completely wrong about this. This whole idiotic line of thinking comes from a Tucker Carlson interview with a guy on the ground who had no clue as to anything going on, but there was a humpback whale that had washed up in his county. And he said it must be that wind farm that they're building out there. Meanwhile, they hadn't even started building that wind farm. The irony is that they've already found that the vast majority of these were from ship strikes. As ships move into areas where they weren't previously, these things can change and affect the local wildlife. Definitely, has nothing to do, there's no evidence whatsoever that this is related to these wind farms. But if you really cared about this, we should absolutely stop all of these offshore deep sea oil rigs. Remember Deepwater Horizon and what it did to the Gulf of Mexico? This is just absolute utter nonsense, and he's just talking completely out of his ass. As always with Scotty Kilmer videos, that was a journey, so thank you for joining me on that. Also, members, I'll be backstage in a few minutes if you want to chat with me about this video or anything else going on. If you're not a member, check the join button down below. You can become one, support this channel, and everything we're trying to do here to push back on this absolute nonsense that people like Scotty are spouting out there. Now, if you do want to hear more about the whale thing, I went deeper into it when Trump was on Joe Rogan. You can check out that video over here. That's it for this one, guys. Let me know what you think in the comments as always, and I'll see you back here next time.